It's time for another edition of Gifted in Space. Captain Patrick! Captain Patrick! Yes, Special Helper? Oh, nothing. I just thought if I said your name again, the power would come back on. Captain Patrick sighed. No matter how many times he had tried to explain to Special Helper that lighting in the universe does not operate on a voice command, Special Helper was still convinced that the next time he said, Captain Patrick! Captain Patrick! the lights would come back on. It had been an exceptionally long week for the crew on Starship Mayfield, and it was just Monday afternoon. Well, at least it was probably Monday afternoon. No one could be for certain, since it was so dark that looking at a watch was impossible, especially for Lieutenant Delana, who would never wear a watch because of the hideous white spot it leaves while tanning. The crew had just returned from a week-long break that morning. First Mate Abby had partnered with community groups throughout the galaxy to host a camp for underprivileged youth. Since underprivileged youth don't typically come from the most engaged parental situations, no one apparently realized Abby was using Abby's back camp for her own ends. Day after day, she'd run the kids through drill and skill tests, releasing a list at the end of each day with the detailed ranking of each kid in her paramilitary organizations. Those in the top group were called Abby's Louisville Sluggers and were ranked from 1st to 9th in her lineup. The groups and their names went down from there. Abby's Crazy Nickname Minor League Kids, Abby's Metal Bat Wonders, Abby's Novelty Bat Kids, Abby's Keychain Bat Kids she doesn't particularly like, and Abby's Why Are You Kids Still Here? I Can't Rank You Any Lower Because You Deserve Nothing But Toothpicks Which You Probably Wouldn't Even Hold Right Kids. The kids in that group called themselves the Gold Band in order to boost their self-esteem. Yes, of course, they still stayed at the camp. Spring break was just about as helpful for Special Helper. He went to Planet New Orleans, a planet far, far away from the normal part of the universe. Special Helper heard that Planet New Orleans didn't bury their dead, and they served beignets. In truth, the planet was entirely below sea level. Years of Mardi Gras parades had taken the topsoil. Also, they served beignets, not beignet, the icy hot sports cream that smells. Nevertheless, Special Helper thought he'd rehabilitate his hand. He always forgot if it was his left or his right one that he had hurt several episodes back. Every morning, Special Helper would place a beignet on his hand, thinking the beignet was working its magical power, while also making him pretty hungry. However, he knew that you can't eat medicine, even no matter how tasty it seems to smell. And this was all in a magical land he thought was eternal, since they didn't bury their dead. Admiral Jade set up a support hotline for parents, since she never had any in her life. She was horrified to learn how many parents couldn't do their child's homework on such simple problems as, if an old man constructed a fence 4 feet high so that he could keep out obnoxious little girls, how many feet away could the fence be before his line of sight is obstructed from seeing the road? 2. Create a story where an old man, tired of hormonal adolescent girls, constructs a high wall to keep them from messing up his yard and stealing his Wi-Fi. 3. Design a campaign ad for an old man running for president of a country. This old man cares very deeply about breaking up the incessant young girl gangs who roam hallways in packs and have bladders that magically only go off during class time. 4. Using your stay-at-home cadaver kit, dissect the old man you were given this week. Identify the part of his brain that grew exceptionally mean and bitter towards the world. Be sure to kick the old man too, and count that towards psychology class. There were also a few questions about prepositional phrases, but those seemed too tough even for Jade. She finished the week having solved everyone's homework issues, but she suspected many of the middle school parents were clueless that their parents had a big project due in a week. Lieutenant Delana was just as helpful, as she helped on a planet that housed the universe's old and wrinkly. Oh, who am I kidding? Delana spent the first part of her break on the beach. Then she watched a lot of baseball. Well, watch is an operative word. She more or less stalked a couple of cute boys on one team and wrote fiction stories in her head where her best friend would double date with her until her friend dies suddenly of a heart attack, leaving just Lieutenant and the 2 boys to warmly embrace each other. Well, not the 2 guys with each other, because that would just be too gross. The captain stayed behind while all this played out. He told the crew he needed to do repairs. None of them knew the captain to be especially useful with tools, but they didn't press the issue because they didn't care. Once the crew was gone, the captain turned the screen on to play his favorite game that he never had time to play, the Galaxy of Babbleduck. The captain quickly lost hours and days as he joined a group's quest to slay the mighty Babbleduck. The group was led by a rather bossy but rather good marksman with the username Trucker K. Captain Patrick was so into the game that he didn't realize he had an evil villain for a leader until she started hot-wiring cars as getaway vehicles. The captain was sure he wasn't playing Grand Theft Auto, and that was when he noticed the username. What was he to do? Keep working with a villain to defeat a virtual villain? Abandon his group and the quest? Captain Patrick summoned all of his courage and said, sorry, the power's about to go out around here. Must be a sunspot. Fun playing with you all, but never contact me again. Bye. Captain then pulled the plug on his device. He was sad, but he was thankful he hadn't collaborated with evil to defeat a virtual duck, no matter how annoying the duck was. The captain thought he had escaped notice, but the trekker knew what had happened. She had long planned to run over the captain's avatar once the Babbleduck had been defeated. However, without the captain's help, the group fell apart in the heat of battle and never stood a chance against the final boss. Trekker Kinsey swore revenge, that if the captain had a blackout, then so would everyone else. When it came to evil, Trekker Kinsey was always on. Get it? Because Alabama Power is... Anyway. So, Trekker Kinsey was always on, so she hopped into her semi, drove out to the outer reaches of the galaxy, found a black hole, dragged the black hole back to the universe's power supply. Within a short time, things suddenly got very dark. Special Helper's theory of voice activation didn't work. Neither did his second theory, to clap on the power. Lieutenant Delana sighed to think of all the boys she wished she were with in the dark. Admiral Jade worried that all the horsies in the world would be scared because no one would be able to neigh an explanation to them. First Mate Abby, though, could smell a black hole a mile away. So when Captain Patrick figured out what had happened, Abby took her bat and beat the black hole black and blue. Well, actually black and black. All the way back to the edge of the universe. The end.